Alright, this might be a little tricky because I got to deal with the weight of the apron, which is not so heavy that I can't lift it, but the thing is, I really need both hands to keep it steady, and the problem is I need one hand free to get the screws started, so we'll give it a shot. See if I can't pull this off. That was tricky. Had to get the forget about this lower rod having to go through that bracket, but worked out fine, and hopefully I'll be able to just sneak the lead screw in right behind here, thread it through, so to speak, and not, well, don't really thread it, but it has to go through the splines, get the splines lined up and get it through, and we install it without any problems, in theory. I got quite a gap still showing right here, so obviously I got to close that up. So this bolt was shorter than these two bolts, and this bolt is currently MIA, but that's because I had found this bolt last, and I think I actually got it in a separate spot. Guess I don't know my own strength. I actually just twisted the end of that, and that's a Craftsman too. Of course, it's going to want to cam out all the time now. Wonder if I can get that covered by warranty. Oh, come on. Now that's just silly. Now it's just breaking. Wow. So get a load of that. Focus. I suppose that's going to focus. I will try something else. There's still a tiny gap on this side. This screw that I put in here, that's got some damage on it where it's been cammed out more than once, so it's going to be tricky to get this to do anything. Well, that's awfully tight. Why is that so tight? Like that. Something's not right. Tight right here. I can't get this feeler gauge in there. And then you don't have to go very far, even just to this screw here, and the feeler gauge goes right in. And down here, it's ridiculously. Matter of fact, down here, the gap is so large that I can actually see right through to the other side. So what is going on? I can't seem to get this to tighten up anymore. Alright. Well, this Craftsman bit that I had was the only thing I had that really fit this well. I guess I'll take a grinder. I'll take it to the grinder and see if I can't salvage it. Nope. There's too much of a bevel on there now. Well, I can grind some of that off. See what happens. I'm trying to loosen this screw so that if there's an alignment issue, it can shift around before I start trying to push up on the thing to get it in. But I can't get this driver to bite any longer because it's too far damaged. Just camming out. It's just going to damage the screw head and make it more difficult for me to do it when I finally do get the correct size driver. Well, let me see whether or not I can't get this thing to even shift up. Maybe I won't end up loosening that screw after all, if it plays nice. I don't have the saddle, the clamps that go on the bottom side of the saddle, I don't have those on. So when I push up on it, the only thing that's going to keep it from going up is the weight of the saddle. Hopefully that'll be enough. Alright, what's happening is the whole saddle's moving up before this gap closes. So there's got to be something else going on here that's causing this problem. I mean, the only obstruction I feel in there right now is the the screw. That shouldn't be stopping it. And then over here is the top of the gear. This gear right here, which I can feel is free, so that's not hitting anything. There's an alignment problem because that screw was really hard to turn and it just popped out. Closed right up as soon as I took that screw out. That's what the problem was. That's it. Can't get that feeler gauge in there now. Well, that's a relief. Alright, gotta find the missing screw. It goes here. Take this out. This block out of here before I trip on it. Found it. Alright, that takes care of that. Well, I think I can assemble the cross slide and cross feed screw assembly and all that now. So first step I'm going to do is, I don't have the jib in here yet, and while this is still loose, I'm going to slide this forward. I'm going to get these two nuts, special They're almost kind of like T-bolts. They get a curve to them though. The ones that hold the compound slide in, because those have to be fed in through the bottom through this special hole here, and you're not going to get to that once this is all in position. Now I'm going to want to put the cross feed nut in, and that's going to go up through the bottom here. There's a hole right here in this casting of the saddle, and that's in the perfect place so that when I get this lined up correctly, I can pop the nut through there. Alright, this is the screw that I found on the bench before and couldn't remember what it went to. It's actually the screw for the that retains the nut in position. I think on the Hendy that this screw actually has a hole all the way through it, and that you're supposed to get oil through there to oil the lead screw in the nut. This uses a completely different setup here. This doesn't have the hole, and actually I don't even see batteries dying. Alright, so what I started to say before the battery died was that on some of these lathes, I think on the Hendy, there's a hole right through the middle here of this screw, and that's where where you can get some oil down in there to oil the nut here. Now, funny thing about this one is that I don't see any way for oil to get in there. So I think what they rely on in this case is that you oil the screw through this hole right here, I believe, and then you're basically relying on that oil being transferred over to the nut. Does that sound right? Maybe not. Anyways, this can only really go in one way because there's a pin underneath here that sticks down. It's actually in this hole right here, and you can actually feel it right there, and that pin goes in this alignment hole right here. So before I put this in, I noticed on this nut right here there's a little burr sticking up that looks like at some point maybe a screwdriver cammed out or something and damaged that a little bit, and that sticks up proud of this flat head. The reason why the head on this is so flat is because it's supposed to sit down flush, and I'm worried that if I screw this in here the way it is, if that burr ends up being right in this little area right here, it might be just causing a little bit of a rubbing situation for the compound, and I really don't want that, so I'm just going to clean that up real quick. Alright, I just hit it with a file, and that took care of that. So now I basically got to reach up from underneath through this square hole. Well, that's a tight fit. It's just easier to do it this way. So now I think I can install the crossfeed screw here, but first I've got to get this gear in. So this gear has a piece of key stock in it, at least I think it is. Actually, that gear's just machined that way. No, that's key stock. Oh, that's weird. It's almost like a piece of key stock that actually is also the tooth right there. Huh. Well, anyways, that's going to sit like this on here. So the trick is this has to go through here. As you can imagine, might take a little bit of finesse to get this in there. Try and get this so that that key is on the top. Alright, let's see, is it lined up? Well, that looks pretty good right there. Now you're probably thinking, but Steve, you forgot to put the collar and all that stuff on. Well, no, I'm pretty sure I can just put that on. Take the handle off and put that on, I believe. Probably should have checked that before I get it, huh? Yeah, I think so. Missing that little brass indicator piece. A little collar. This must go on like this. Alright, so I've got a hole here on top of the cross slide that I can see the this end of the cross feed screw. So that's pretty sure that's an oil hole, but all that does really is oil where it goes through this support on this end, the bearing surface, I guess. So I still don't really know how they expect you to oil the cross feed screw itself, although I can see that if I rotate it far enough over, pretty much exposed. But I don't know, it just seems kind of odd to me that you have that like that. It doesn't exactly move very smoothly because it's kind of doesn't. The first problem is it doesn't have the jib in there. Second problem is this is dry. I still haven't put any oil on it. I'll get to that in a moment. Alright, so let's see. It goes on the end here. Alright, I think the piece that goes on here that I don't have on right now is actually part of the tapering jig, so I'm going to leave that off for now. Yeah, I'm going to put that jib in. Aha! With the jib was this metal plate. And I do believe this metal plate is supposed to cover that big hole I was just looking at and going, hey, I can see the leads. I can see the cross feed screw right in there. You just put oil in that way. Yep. Uh-oh. This goes in here. And it's a tiny dovetail that holds this in. So, okay, I don't need to take, I was worried, I was thinking I was going to have to take the whole cross feed screw out again. But I just realized that I can slide this right in there if I just take this stuff off. Alright, question, does it go in this way or does it go in this way? We have a groove, and I'm sure the purpose of that groove is probably for something to ride in that will act to move this out and make it cover that. Alright, so if I put this in like this, nothing's going to make that I'm sure when I took this apart I probably made a note of which way that goes in, just for this reason. But I would really like to put that in, right? Oh, I just dropped the tiny woodruff key. Great. There it is. Let's see if I can try and avoid dropping that again. Idiot. Clockwise, clockwise, turn this clockwise. Alright, I don't think this is gonna do anything for me, so I think this has to go in this way. And I think unfortunately, I think there's a pin underneath there. Yeah, there's got to be a pin right here. Yeah, I see it. And guess what? That pin's supposed to be in this groove. Oh, what luck. With the jib out, you can actually lift this up just enough to make that happen. There we go. Now we're cooking. Alright, so looks like the way this works is as this retreats, that pin will grab the end of that slot and slide this over. But then when this comes back, what's supposed to make that come back? Well, I guess this would, now that I look at it, I mean, you're probably not going to have the compound going way the hell over there. It's all going to be happening right here. Right? Right, yeah. That's what we're going to believe anyways. Alright, so now I can put this jib in. No, I can't. It's filthy. But I clean this. Alright, so the way this jib goes in is pretty straightforward. Obviously, the side with the holes have to face the screws. So that means it can only go this way or this way. And obviously, you want it to have the correct shape. And the easiest way to tell that is to just get down in the back here and take a look. I'm going to put this in. Okay. So that's hitting one of the screws. You know, just thought I'd point out this jib has a number 13 stamped into it. There's a number 13 stamped on the cross slide right here. The lathe's got a 13 over here, which I thought was serial number 13. Now I'm wondering whether or not that's just an assembly number and that they stamped all these parts with 13 to make sure they all stayed together on this lathe. That being the case, if that is in fact the case, it's interesting that I believe on the apron, when I had the apron off, I believe there was a 25 stamped on top of that. Can't be a part number because this can't be a 13 and the bed a 13 and the jib a 13, obviously, so kind of shoots that theory all the heck. And that screwdriver is way too big for those screws. One of them is in too far because I can't get the jib to go in any further than that screw. This might work right here. Now, here's a trick. We're gonna need to figure out how am I going to know that I am definitely getting these screws to go into the right holes and not just pushing on the back of the flat part of the jib. Well, for starters, I want to see why this isn't going any further. I'll just hold my finger there, bring this up, and I can see that apparently the jib is encountering something that's not allowing it to go in any further at this position right here, which this position right here is the hole that had nothing in it. I hypothesized early on during disassembly that there was a screw missing here. Alright, if this hole was open right now, then I should be able to feel the side of the jib pushing on this piece that I'm sticking in there, and it's not. So I think something's in this hole. I guess I didn't really look at that when I had it out, but I'm thinking now, unfortunately, I have a sneaking suspicion that there is a broken off screw in this hole. If that's the case, I'm going to have to take this whole slide off to fix that. Well, just got my light on the subject, looked in there, and much to my surprise, I see a grub screw. So I think one of these screws went missing, and somebody came along and replaced it with a grub screw, and the grub screw is too far in. So just use my Allen wrench here and back it out. I'm sure once I back that out, I'll be able to get the jib to go in. Yeah, already, there we go. Alright, so what I started to say was the trick of figuring out how to make sure that this goes in far enough. Well, let's see. Turns out the jib is exactly the length of the cross slide, so it's really not that much of a mystery. I think I was thinking about that much harder than I needed to. $11 p.m. Time to go to bed. So I'm just going to initially tighten these up lightly. And next time I work on this, I'll get some oil on there, oil it up. I'll also get that back piece on there so that this doesn't do this. We get the gist of it.